This program aims to find solutions to your medical queries. It seeks answers to common health problems that have been hounding you. We will help you out in finding answers to your medical concerns. Merry Christmas, everyone! My name is Angel Jacob, and this is MedTalk, your weekly on-air health consultation here on the Solar News Channel. It's this time of the year, once again, when friends and family members gather together to celebrate the holiday season. Alongside the usual gift-giving and socializing are the irresistible foods that are readily available on the dinner table.
Hindi mawawala ang baboy, kasi yung baboy, yun ang ginagawang lechon, yun ang ginagawang hamon. Hindi ginawawala ang baka at saka manok. Ngayon, kung kaya ng budget, nagsaserve tayo ng mga seafood na kagaya ng lobster, kagaya ng crabs, at saka shrimp. Pero din, hindi rin siya ganun ka-popularly used. Tapos of course, hindi nawawala ang salads, ang sweets, hindi nawawala, at saka ang pasta.
Beer and other alcoholic drinks are also part of the festivities, and even the seemingly most disciplined persons have a hard time saying no to all these temptations.
Ang Noche Buena natin is buffet. You put everything on the plate. Kaya siguro maabot yan ng mga 800 to 1,000 calories just for one meal.
Often enough, healthy living is overlooked.
Kahit na sabihin mo isang araw lang naman, pero elevated ang cholesterol mo. Isang araw lang naman, pero diabetic ka. Isang araw lang naman, pero ma-high blood pressure ka. Yung immediate na pagkakain mo nun, may effect na kagad sa katawan mo yan eh.
But once you fail to give the appropriate attention to your health, you may suffer many possible side effects and complications such as an upset stomach, high blood pressure, and indigestion.
Alam mo, meron kaming tinatawag na mo, va, ba. Mo is moderation, va is variation, and B is balance. Yun ang sikreto sa mahabang buhay. Sabi nga ni Robner, tell me what you are eating now and I will tell you how long you will live. Mas masarap mag-celebrate ng 10 Pasko pa kaysa hindi na magpapasko habang buhay. Kasi yung iinumin mong alak for 10 years, ininom mo na lahat nila. In moderation lang lang.
How can one stay healthy this holiday season? What is a good healthy eating plan this Christmas? Find out the answers tonight on MedTalk. Merry Christmas once again! Today we have a special episode as we talk about healthy eating and dieting this holiday season. Joining us tonight is Dr. Anthony Lichon, an internist and cardiologist from the Manila Doctors Hospital. He's also the author of Executive Order 595 or the Health Education Reform Order and Vice President of the Philippine College of Physicians. Also joining us is Maria Bernadette Platon, an associate dietitian of the University of Santo Tomas and vice president of the Philippine Association of Diabetes Educators. Good evening. Welcome to the show, Badette.
Hello, good
and
evening.
Dr. Lichon. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas.
Parties left and right.
That's
And
right.
tonight we're talking about healthy eating and dieting. How do we choose what food to put on our plate?
My advice, don't go to a party hungry. So at
That's
least
what happened to me.
take a little snack before before you take a bunch of fill up your plate. But as long as you know that you had enough, don't go for second round.
So, Dr. Lichon, when do you know when you've had enough?
Well, I have a checklist every time. So I don't go out of the house without any checklist.
Okay.
So for food, I usually have this healthy food plate.
I
So
agree.
whether you have buffet or you have a la carte meal, then you have to have a checklist in your brain.
Please educate us or share with us this checklist of yours.
This healthy food plate was actually conceptualized by Harvard Medical School through the intercession of President Barack Obama. So they divide the plate into four. So one corner would actually have the carbs there. One corner will have the healthy protein, usually fish and veggies,
Lean meat.
fish and chicken. And then on one corner, greater than the other portion, is actually be the vegetables. And then the last portion is actually
Your
fruits.
fruits.
So the tendency for most people is basically to divide the plate into two. And basically the practice of most people is to eat a lot of carbs and a lot of protein. So in order not to gain too much weight, then you have to have a balanced meal. But the visual representation should be the food plate.
Yeah. But doctor, even some of my friends, they really divide their plate into four, into three, but they fill it up.
Right.
So the tendency is they really have to pig out.
Right.
And once there are leftovers, so the mothers will tend to consume the remaining, so there will be no leftover.
That's a Filipino trait, no? Sayang. Give me your plate, I'll eat it.
That's
Then the
right.
solution is another one, which is calorie counter. So using the food plate, then you know how much food are you going to eat for the day. Let's say for male, you need about 1,500 to about 2,000 calories. For females, 1,2 to 1,5, depending on your
Your physical activity.
your body mass index. So the reference point is, let's say you have one cup of rice is about 150 calories and water is 0 calories. A soda would actually be 200 calories. So if you consume, let's say, 2 bottles of
cans.
soda or 2 cans of soda, that's basically about 400 calories. And if you're a female, that's about 1/3 of your meal already.
Okay.
So basically that's my guidepost. I use the healthy food plate and I use the calorie counter. And then when I go to the malls, I usually use the labeling
That's right.
so that you would know what particular food to take.
There are also healthy options, so like you go for the sugar-free products, you go for low-fat alternatives, or those with light in their labels, but do not use that as your basis alone if you want to reduce weight, because your tendency, even if the product says this is low, 50% less calories, but you're going to consume the whole pack. So the point, the bottom line there is you're still eating beyond what is your recommended calories.
So you speak of eating beyond recommended calories.
Right.
When we go
That's
to parties,
right.
like I mentioned earlier, there's so much on the buffet table.
Right.
Do we have to taste each and every one? Because, you know, sometimes as Filipinos, jahe naman, if the host asks us, masarap
Go
ba?
back to the buffet.
Yeah, come on, have some more, have some more. How do we say it politely that, you know, we're
Right.
okay?
I think the perspective you should know is that 3,500 calories would actually equate to 1 pound. So in excess of your usual daily caloric intake, let's say you have 500 calories, that can be cumulative, let's say in 7 days, so that's 3,500 calories. But for example, for 1 day of buffet, you had around 5,000 calories when your usual meal is 1.5. That's about 1 pound that day additional. So you need to have that in context whenever you're eating outside. That your requirement is basically like this, and when you're going to eat like this, it would be the equivalent amount in weight, which is in pounds, if you have a lot of calories a day. I think that's my principle. And then I weigh myself daily.
Oh, okay.
Right. And then, if you want to eat more, then you have to burn it.
Yeah.
A 30-minute exercise, like walking, or let's say around in the mall, about 1 hour, it's about 240 calories. So 30 minutes on the treadmill will burn you about 300 calories. So that's equivalent to 1.5 cups of rice. So you need to have that particular balance in yourself so that you would not actually gain weight. So the key here is actually to know the calories and then exercise daily so that when there comes a time that there will be tremendous amount of food on the table, then you actually don't gain much weight.
And it's practice, no? You practice it every time you're faced with a buffet, faced with so much food to eat, or faced with just a meal, no? Practice makes perfect, and
That's
you get
right.
into that habit.
I have a few tips regarding
Yes,
that.
please, doctor.
The first one is to eat the low-calorie food first.
Like
because
what? Let's give examples.
Like
of
the
those.
low-calorie would be vegetables and
salad.
fruits. Because the first phase of digestion is what we call cephalic. Iniisip mo pa lang siya. So therefore, if your first taste of food is actually the high-calorie food, let's say meat and then rice right away, then you gobble up a lot of calories. right? In order to satisfy, because the second part is about the gastric, you feel in your stomach. And the gastric emptying time is about 2 hours. So the tendency of Filipinos, vis-a-vis the French, is to eat a lot of carbo
they
right
see.
away in one sitting with the food. In contrast with the French, or the usual meal in the hotel, you will have salad, then you have soup, and then you have the main course,
Your
and then
entree.
you have the coffee. So, this is slow phase of digestion will actually help you a lot in terms of controlling your calories.
But also, did you know that depending on the method of cooking, so if you're into fatty foods, that will leave the stomach longer, so you will feel hungry, you will feel full quite for a longer time. But I also have a practical tip regarding, doctor, if we're talking about calorie counting. So we don't go to buffet with an estimate of what is 1 cup. They should have a visual. So for an estimate portion of a cup, if you're going to close your fist
Okay.
of a woman, that's equivalent to a cup. So, doctor, if you're going to fist, if you're going to close your fist, so that's equivalent to more than a cup. So at least you have an estimate. I'm just going to consume just a cup of rice.
So it's
And
okay to eat rice.
It is. That's our
It is.
staple food. That makes it more energetic. And there's the misconception. I will not eat rice, but they will eat bread.
Yes.
But the equivalent of that, they will consume the whole loaf of bread. So that's
my.
equivalent more than
50
like
calories
estimate
is 1 piece of
one
bread.
slice
One
of
mandisal
bread.
or 1 piece of bread. It's about 50 calories. So you have 4 pieces of bread, that's about 1 cup of
1 cup.
rice.
And I will ask my client, which will you feel hungry, eating rice or eating the bread? So I'll give them choices so that they will not feel deprived.
But on a regular basis, we still can control our food intake. Hopefully, no, we can. But during the holiday season, I know we've mentioned the tips and tricks, so to speak, on how to do it. But to educate our viewers a lot more and to educate me as well, no? How do we enjoy everything, even the sweets, without overindulging, so that we don't get an indigestion or a heartburn or a stomach upset?
Savor the food.
Okay. How do we do
don't
that?
Don't rush your eating. So might as well, for every tablespoon of your food, you have to chew your foods very well. At least 10 to 15 times at the end of your plate, you will feel more hungry. You will be more satisfied with your choices
In savoring the food, no?
by savoring it.
And that way, you're satisfied.
That's-
Your
and you will-
your brain has already sent the signal that you're okay, you're full. This is all you can take for the moment.
That's the ideal time for every meal. You have to make it last for 20 minutes. So at least you'll have a healthy digestion. So you have to eat slowly.
Okay.
My tip is just to focus. Regardless of what day it is, whether it's New Year or Christmas Day, you need to be focused because you can enjoy, of course, the most delicious food there. Even lechon,
Yum.
provided you know the calories. It's not bad really to eat these fatty foods as long as you know the amount
The
and the
quantity.
calories. So I'm not a killjoy. So you can still eat this kind of food, but you have to dispense with other foods that you'd like to take. Let's say if you want to eat lechon and then you have pasta and you have rice, there's a tremendous amount of calories. Perhaps you can actually, more or less do some small frequent feedings, right? And if there's really a binge eating, which is defined as 2 consecutive days of eating, then you have to burn it by exercising.
Okay, so you mentioned exercising, doctor. With that, we'll talk more about exercising and dieting techniques when MedTalk returns. Did you know, if you want to stay in shape this festive season, you better move and exercise. Here's a list of activities with corresponding average calories burned in 30 minutes. Light housework burns 115 calories. Shopping, 102. Mopping the floor, 119. Cooking, 86 calories. And sleeping, 35 calories. are back here on MedTalk. This time, let's talk about some effective dieting techniques as we celebrate Christmas. Okay, so doctors, how would you describe the usual food that is found in the Filipino table during the holidays?
Well, the usual food during the holiday is usually the processed foods. We have the hamon, we have a lot of bacon as well, we have a lot of lechon. So,
Cheese.
cheese. So you have excessive amounts right now of your protein. And then a
Saturated
lot
fat.
of carbohydrates also because you have a lot of cakes and all these
Salad.
pastries, right? I think that's about it. That's why you gain a lot of weight because you take a lot of your high-calorie foods. And seldom do we see a lot of vegetable dishes. And of course, fruits are usually relegated to the last item. So therefore, you consume less of the healthier calories. So the tendency is for you really to gain weight because of your intake of high-calorie food. So basically, the Christmas holiday is about high-calorie food. So more on the protein and more on the carbs.
More protein, more carbs. Badet, what would you suggest we prepare for our Noche Buena feast, which is savory, healthy, and at the same time, low calorie?
But it depends on the budget of the family.
Okay.
Well, when we say healthy choices, so just make sure that you serve what we call the balanced food group. So we have your vegetables that can be in the form of your salad, but I'm not talking about your potato salad or your fruit salad. So we're talking about your greens. So as for dressing, you go for like vinaigrette as alternative low-calorie dressing. Now for your protein source, go for the white meat. So I know tofu or fish is not really popular during the holiday season, but just make sure that the method of cooking is not breaded or not loaded with cream on top or with cheeses that will add more calories. And bottom line, you just make sure that at the end, for every extra calories that you take, you really have to burn it. As I really agree with Dr. Leachon about the balance of physical activity and exercise.
So physical activity, when you're at a party, your physical activity is standing up to go to the
To the buffet.
buffet table.
Not this kind of
Not this
physical
physical-
activity.
not this physical activity. And because you do those physical activities, the lesser the complications you will have during the holiday season. And we speak of complications. What are some of the health concerns that we might face during this season, Doctor?
The common problems that we encounter during Christmas and New Year or the holiday season is number one is stroke. And basically secondary to increasing the blood pressure due to high salt intake, a lot of merrymaking, of course. You can have
Alcohol.
smoking and alcohol intake as well. Then you have high incidence of coronary artery disease, that's the heart attack. Basically you have same situation. You have overindulgence here. And don't get me wrong, all of these patients are basically triggered by 2 weeks or 3 weeks of excessive amount of food,
Cumulative.
merrymaking.
That's right.
You have stress all around you. You have decreased number of hours of sleep. So basically on Christmas Day, those who happen to have problems being rushed in the emergency room is actually a confluence of the last 2 or 3 weeks in a high-risk population. So the ordinary individuals will not actually suffer from this. So you need to identify who are at high risk, and this would be very important for the televiewers. Number one is the age factor. Let's say you're above 40. Number two, male,
Gender.
male gender. Number three, you smoke a lot. You have high history of high cholesterol. You're diabetic. You have high blood pressure. You're obese, and a family history of premature deaths in the family secondary to stroke or heart attack. And then, of course, stress in the office, decreased number of sleeping hours, and that's it. And when you have 3 out of the 10 risk factors, then you're considered moderate to high risk.
At risk.
So therefore, you need to see a physician to have your blood check, your blood pressure check, so that they can adjust the medications and advise you.
But you can still enjoy the
You can still
holiday
enjoy.
treats.
The key here is to be able to be informed or be empowered if you're high risk or not, then you can have your holiday.
Okay.
And speaking of having a holiday, we have a question from Facebook who would like to enjoy
Oh.
the yummies that will be prepared during the holiday season or that are prepared during the holiday season. Is there such a thing as a healthy dose of lechon?
All right. When we say healthy dose, well, of course, it should be bombarded with your nutrients, especially your good source of nutrients like your iron, your calcium, phosphorus. But regarding lechon, well, if you want to have just a taste of it, you can do so by again measuring it. So based from your palm size, without the fingers, a palm size is equivalent to 3 choices of your meat. So if you want to have a whole palm of your lechon, forego the other source of your protein.
Okay, like a steak.
Seafood, your shellfish, your chicken.
Okay, so you just have to choose one.
That's right.
Diba? Palm. Okay, while you were
Well,
talking...
palm size of a woman, okay?
Oh,
Not
okay.
that of a woman.
This is how big my lechon.
That's equivalent to 3 meat choices.
Already.
But for that of a male, it's equivalent to 4 to 5 choices.
So you can still have your lechon.
You can
have
still.
your lechon, eat it too, and be merry.
I guess without the skin, without the
Oh.
balat.
Okay. Again, we must remember, those at risk of developing heart attack or stroke are patients with pre-existing diseases.
That's right.
And basically, you need to take medications for this if you enjoy. But if you are a patient with lesser risk factors, you can enjoy that provided you take the moderate amounts of that particular lechon. What is dangerous is that you have a pre-existing heart disease and you overindulge and then perhaps take this on 5 or 7 days in a flurry, and that will be dangerous for you.
We speak of taking care of our heart during the holiday season. There's such a thing as holiday heart syndrome. Please tell us what this is, Doctor.
Holiday heart syndrome is a medical statement that heart diseases are actually occurring during certain periods. Let's say, for example, during weekends, you can have a holiday and then you have binge eating and drinking. But the most common source of holiday or cause of holiday heart syndrome is actually alcohol. From the minutest or the mildest amount of alcohol to the greatest amount of alcohol, you can have, irregular heart rhythm or cardiac arrhythmia. You can have, accidents. You can have subdural hematoma. If, for example, you're driving or just walking, you can have a fall and you can have lose consciousness. Then number 4, you can have congestive heart failure in the patients with pre-existing heart disease. All right? So basically alcohol, because of the increase in your heart rate or in your blood pressure, creating that particular problem. So the food is nothing, but alcohol is very dangerous to me, whether in the mildest or in the severest form of alcohol.
Probably because, doctor, it has an immediate effect
It's an
compared
immediate
with
effect
compared with food.
How does one feel when one is suffering from holiday heart syndrome? If, like what you said, Badet, it's an immediate effect.
Right. The usual symptoms are usually palpitations, shortness of breath, difficulty breathing, sudden loss of consciousness or syncopal attacks. You can have actually seizures or epileptic type of seizures. So you can have this. So the best way is to bring the patient right away to the emergency room so that we can actually counteract the problem.
And it's also advisable, no, if possible, for those who will drink during the holidays, maybe someone can be a designated driver who did not drink
That's right.
The best one is actually to drink at home
at home.
and never to drive if you're drinking. And know, of course, the amount of alcohol you should actually partake, because it's very difficult to have somebody in the hospital during the holiday season.
We speak of alcohol. Now we'll talk about binge eating and excessive drinking during the holidays. Please define these two.
Doctor.
Well, it's defined
Doctor.
as 2 to 3 successive days of eating heavily.
More than.
And of course, alcohol. Usually in the US or here locally, it's about weekends. Now, weekends, let's say Saturday and Sunday, then you gain about 2 or 3 pounds, right? And then during the weekdays, because you're walking and perhaps at stress at work, you don't have much weight gain. But the problem with the holiday season, according to that particular study of the American Heart Association, after Thanksgiving Day in the US, November 27, slowly your weight and your risk factors would increase December 7. And then you have the Simbang Gabi, and then culminating in the Christmas season. And then, of course, you have the New Year's Eve, then you have the Epiphany, January 6. And then sometimes it can actually be extended to the Chinese New Year. So you have this kind of...
It's a long holiday season.
It's a long holiday season starting on Thanksgiving Day up to February. And therefore, this is also correlated with the number of admissions related to the cardiovascular events, whether in the US or here.
Local.
But that you were talking about how to eat properly during the season. Eat like
For breakfast,
breakfast.
eat like a king. For lunch, eat like a prince. And for dinner, eat like a pauper. That concept is based from at nighttime after your dinner. That's where we have your your sedentary lifestyle. It means you're about to take your nap, or you're about to take your sleep. That's the end of the day, and you will not get too much exercise within that period. So that's why at breakfast you really have to energize or rejuvenate your day by having a hearty breakfast.
Okay.
One important
Yes,
thing is
Doctor.
that most of the heart attacks and stroke would happen in the
Dawn.
wee hours of the
That's
morning,
right.
from 4 o'clock to 8 o'clock in the morning, because this is the time when the blood pressure is high, heart rate is increased, you have a colder temperature, so therefore you have more vasoconstriction or narrowing of the arteries, either in the brain and the coronaries. So when that particular incident would happen, you have a slow flow of the blood, and therefore this can cause actually clogging of the arteries. So therefore, if you eat a lot and there's too much cholesterol to be burned, then this can actually add up eventually. So it is basically hinged on the concept that the higher is the energy level, that's the time you eat more. The lower is the energy level,
Eat less.
you eat less. And that is actually nighttime.
At night. So what time, before we cut to a break, what time do you advise we take our dinner? So we have time to digest our food.
Well, if you sleep around 10, so at least 2 to 3 hours prior to your sleeping, that's the best time to have your late meal of the day.
So around 7.
7 or 8 or 6.
Dinner parties during the season, they try to make it early, 6 o'clock, because
Right.
we all want to enjoy each other's company, enjoy the food. But after 6, 7, 8, 9, then at around 10, you're supposed to be in bed already,
That's
and you've
right.
digested all that food already.
So
Right,
don't
I agree.
sleep right away after taking your meal.
2 hours is the gastric emptying time. So there's a lot of bangungot syndrome happening if you actually sleep right away
That's
after
right.
eating. So if you have 8 hours of sleep, which is recommended, then you should be sleeping around 10 p.m. and then wake up at 6 a.m. So therefore, you need to eat sometime around 6 or 7 so that the gastric emptying time will be 2 hours. That's about 9 or 10.
just
And do
enough.
not eat more than that after 10 o'clock in the evening.
So 7 o'clock, perfect, while watching MedTalk, learning all about this.
That's
Time
right.
for dinner. We'll talk more about tonight's topic, dieting and eating healthy during the season, when MedTalk returns. Christmas may be the perfect time to eat, drink, and be merry. But if you attack the buffet table with reckless abandon, you might accumulate unnecessary calories and fat that can easily translate to possible health complications later on. For those who do not want to indulge in good food and remain healthy in the process, can try the different dishes prepared by chef and restaurant mogul Edward Bugia of Pipino Vegetarian Restaurant.
We don't cop out by using just tofu. Sure, we have tofu, but there are so many other alternatives. There are mushrooms, so many kinds of mushrooms, vegetables, even fruits like here, that we use in our dishes. So we don't want to make it boring. We want to be the opposite of boring when it comes to vegetarian food.
One of his most popular offerings is the watermelon steak.
So first, season your watermelon, salt and pepper, then a bit of sugar para mag-darken siya pagka-grinnell. Tapos, mag-grill na natin siya.
The watermelon steak is served with taro miso mash, string beans, and pickled mushroom. Those who want something Filipino may want to try the bistek rice.
Tofu. Tofu and mushrooms, that's why they're always together. When you ask vegetarians, don't you miss meat? What's the alternative that you want, that you like in your dishes? They will always say, we like tofu and mushrooms. They simulate the texture of meat.
And for those who love pasta, Chef Edward also has something healthy lined up for you this Christmas season. Try the pasta puttanesca with tomatoes, olives, and capers. Definitely a must for those who love Italian food.
I really believe if you take care of your body, mas maraming balik yan. That would be the better gift you give yourself and your family. I guess when you choose healthier options, you can mix it naman eh. Healthy and unhealthy on the same table. You feel less guilt, I guess. You don't feel na parang, kailangan ko mag-exercise. Parang ang laki ng ginastos ko sa lechon na yun ah. Diba? There's less guilt and there's less, it's a lifestyle change. It's a lifestyle thing. Health is wealth.
We are back here on MedTalk. As seen on the video, there are alternative dishes for the holidays. And the first dish was a watermelon steak. What can you say about this dish? Health benefits? Will it satisfy your craving for protein?
Well, for a vegan, that's really a positive impact on them. At least they will enjoy the taste of a real steak, but with an alternative source coming from your watermelon. But what about the combination of your watermelon steak? How is that prepared? Is it loaded with high sodium intake or condiments? It will still trigger your blood pressure. And how about the gravy? How was that prepared? Is it with butter? Is it with cream? So I would suggest is at least have a bite. It's okay. No, indulge a little, but at least you have an alternative.
Is this also an alternative to your dessert already? Because it's fruit. It's already sweet.
It is.
Can it
is.
hit two birds with one stone, your main dish and your dessert as well?
Well, watermelon basically is considered as fruit or your carbs. And the sweetness of the watermelon is dependent on the ripeness of the fruit. And since it's a little juicy because it's more fluid, liquid than your regular fresh fruit. But however, once it is subjected into heat, the fluid or the moisture of the fruit also lessens. So, well, I'm not saying that the calories is lessened, but the satisfaction of eating the real thing is masked.
Yes, doctor.
I have an important analysis for that. No? Sometimes chefs or the cooks would try to influence the thinking process of the patients or the family members, and hopefully that will affect their behavior. But sometimes it can go the other side because if you're not satisfied, of course, with the food, you tend to overeat more. So, but if your intention is for the first salvo of food to be consumed, then perhaps you actually get your goal, which is actually have the low-calorie food there during the cephalic phase, right? So that you can actually be satisfied right away. But the caveat is there that you have to take extra amount of that in order to be satisfied.
Yes.
So therefore, I think there should be a balance of the food. Perhaps
The taste.
I would like the watermelon steak, but the next food
Bistek.
should be something that is really palatable and should be something that the patients or the family members would enjoy. Because what is important to me is the cephalic phase, the first part in which you satisfy your craving. So therefore, the next amount of food will be lesser.
Maybe this next dish can satisfy that craving, the
Ah, okay.
bistek rice. So instead of beef, our chef used tofu.
That's okay.
That's okay.
That's
Now,
okay.
tofu is a rich source of calcium and lower calorie than your regular beef or your regular red meat. So that's a better alternative.
So how about, again, if you overindulge it because you say, it's tofu naman.
But
It's
if-
okay to eat a lot.
My suggestion is to have a beef steak type, then you have actually breast chicken as an alternative.
You can incorporate it into the
Yeah,
right.
chicken.
chicken also.
Yeah.
Okay.
But for vegan, doctor,
Yeah.
for the strict vegan, they will really opt no source of your
Ah,
protein source. So at least that's a better alternative.
But at home, you can be creative, of course.
So for the vegans, that's perfect.
That's perfect.
And for the meat lovers, as your suggestion, doctor, we can
Combine
add
it.
chicken.
Yes,
chicken.
white meat.
Our third dish was the puttanesca pasta. And this one has vegetables and olives and
I totally agree with the
tomatoes.
combination. At least it's tomato base and not cream base. So it means that's more healthy, less calories than the addition of your cream in your pasta.
How about the amount of the puttanesca on your plate?
That's okay, just equivalent to
Again, 1 cup.
one cup. But I would try to...
You always have to remind them.
Yeah, but I'd like to be innovative.
Yes,
I like to add a little of shrimps and salmon, perhaps. So that you can have a tastier
olives,
pasta.
So shrimp and salmon. And
Salmon.
for the pure vegan, that's
Your
fine.
tomato,
That's
yes.
fine.
That's fine, okay. How about a dessert to go with all the dishes that we saw in the video? What's the best dessert for that?
For the sweet tooth, I guess, if we're choosing the lesser evil, go for sorbet than regular ice cream.
Okay.
So at least that's less cream base. And fresh fruit, you'll never go wrong since it will really satisfy the sweetness of your craving for sweets.
Doctor, what's your favorite dessert?
I'll go for espresso
Okay.
or a coffee.
Would you take it with a piece of chocolate or a cookie?
Perhaps, yeah. So that's about 70 to 100 calories or less.
So it's okay to drink coffee after a meal. And again, time it because yung
If
iba
it is
hindi nakakatulog.
But if it's dinner time,
Yes.
all right, then you can take actually fruit.
So fruit is okay and
Fruit is
coffee is
okay.
okay. A
Yes.
sorbet
Yeah.
would be good.
That's right.
Sorbet is also
It's
good.
fruit. It's
Right,
fruit
fruit
based.
based.
How about for the children at Christmas? Do we allow them to eat everything and anything?
Well, children, they are very, they are influenced very quickly. So whatever they see in their dining table, they will really have to consume it. So as the mother or as the companion in the house, so might as well serve what your kids really can only consume.
I have 3 kids and one is chubby, the youngest. It's actually their behavior in eating. The youngest would take a lot of soda sometimes, a lot of junk food.
Remove the
Well,
soda.
Right. So therefore, it should be something that you should understand that whenever there's a food or a beverage in the house,
Yeah.
then it's always,
It-
tempting.
That's right.
Yes.
Tempting to take that.
Yes.
So, siguro you have to remove that sometimes. But my kids, the eldest and the second, they don't take sodas so that's good for me, and they don't take a lot of junk food.
Okay. 'Cause
So it's actually you have to shape the environment.
That's right.
You have to shape the environment really.
Doctor will talk more about shaping the environment, but that's when MedTalk returns.
Did you know? Interested in how much calories your favorite alcoholic drink contains? Before you go out for a holiday drink, You should pay attention to how much calories are contained in the different drinks you enjoy. An 11-ounce beer contains 163 calories. Whiskey has 107 calories. Red wine, 73 calories per glass. White wine, 85 calories per glass, while champagne has 85 calories. Want a drink with absolutely 0 calories? Try drinking pure water.
We're back here on MedTalk, still talking about healthy living this holiday season. We have a question from Twitter with that, Dr. Lichan. Why do I always get sleepy every time I get full?
Okay.
That is based on the concept by the Pickwickian syndrome. It's a Charles Dickens novel, A Tale of Two Cities. There's a character there by the name of Pickwick, and this is a patient who's very obese. So therefore, if you're actually full, you accumulate a lot of your carbon dioxide. And carbon dioxide makes you sleepy. It's narcosis, they say. So therefore, the best way after eating is really to walk and then burn a little bit of the calories. And then after 30 minutes to 1 hour, then you can actually go to bed.
Not eat again, just go
Not
to
eat
bed.
But carbon dioxide, doctor, is really accumulation of your carbs, rich foods in carbs. So cut down if you're consuming 2 cups of rice, make it a cup. Or if you're into too much sweets, lessen your sweets.
Right. Another question from Twitter. Is it okay to wash off hard drinks with coffee?
Well, actually, it can be tricky because your coffee can increase your heart rate and your blood pressure. Hard drinks can increase your blood pressure and of course your heart rate. So that's a double whammy. So I would say perhaps you have to water it down with water, dilute it. If you want to dilute the coffee, then it should be only coffee and not combine that with alcohol. It's very dangerous.
Another question from Twitter. What's a fast relief for overeating or empacho?
Okay. Perhaps the usual mom's approach would be to put warm compress over the stomach area and then take antispasmodics and then perhaps drink a little bit of tea, right? And then walk around.
Okay.
I don't know. That's the usual mother's approach.
Okay. All right. But that,
Just don't overeat.
okay. All right. So no overeating, no empacho. Facebook question. What's the truth about bangungot? How soon can I go to bed after eating a lot?
No sleeping within 2 hours. It's basically termed as acute pancreatitis when you have excessive amounts of your enzymes destroying your pancreas. So therefore, not much of carbohydrates during sleeping time. Very, very dangerous. Then you can actually have your electrolyte imbalance here. Your potassium can actually go up and cause cardiac arrhythmias. So there's truth regarding bangungot syndrome.
Okay. And in relation to our first Twitter question, getting sleepy after eating.
That's right.
So you fall asleep shortly after eating and that might result to bangungot.
Bangungot
Well,
syndrome.
some tend to overeat at night times. It's just the only time they can get in from their work because they're too busy. And by the time they reach home, they tend to eat more. So I suggest you really have to space out your food intake. So no need to concentrate on just one meal. So you have to eat in between or small frequent meals, as they say.
Okay. During the break, we were talking about, because I'm trying to remember your tips on the,
palm
the
size.
palm size. And then vegetables are
When you spread out your fingers, so that's
Okay.
initial consumption of your greens, your leafy vegetables.
okay. So
And a cup again.
so your cup of
fist.
rice, your vegetables, and your meat dish. How about your sweets? Where does it go?
All right. Well, if you're into like leche flan or your makapuno, 1 tablespoon is your thumb.
Okay.
So at least you can satisfy your sweet tooth.
So a sliver of that cake,
Right.
1 pound, is okay.
Yes.
So just one.
Or 2 by 2 inches if you want to be more specific. That's for your
okay.
brownies, for your cakes.
Yes, so you can indulge as well. But okay, now I remember. 'Cause during the break we were
But
talking
fruits
about
will
that.
still be the better alternative.
Okay. So alternative, this is not an alternative. This should be practiced and this should be
Yes.
taken seriously. Doctor, you were talking about educating the environment
Right.
on healthy eating. Please tell us more about that.
Okay, when you want a person to change, particularly your high-risk patient, then you have to direct the patient on how to, stop smoking or diet. No? So you have to motivate them, not the negative fear factor, but motivate them why they should change. But even if you direct them, you motivate them, there's no infrastructure in the house. For example, there's no, let's say, exercise program for them. You buy a lot of junks and sodas and then put that in the ref. Then the infrastructure or a setup to be unhealthy is there. So I'd like to summarize that. You have to shape the environment. Lifestyle disease is not a disease of individual. It's a disease of the society. So the smallest unit of society is the family. So therefore, the parents should be able to adapt to certain changes in the environment. And the best way is, of course, to have a healthy lifestyle. So just to summarize 3 points in healthy lifestyle: do not smoke, do not drink excessive amounts of alcohol, balanced diet, and exercise 30 minutes a day. And that's the golden 3 tips.
Thank you for those tips. Badet, any tips?
Okay. When we hear the word diet, it means daya, or you are masking the truth. So when we say eating healthy, it means you satisfy your craving just enough, but do not overindulge. When you say balanced diet, don't forget to eat your vegetables, your fruits, not too much on fatty or oily food, more on the lean meat, cut down on the visible parts of your fat, and avoid what you call your energy dense foods like your ice cream, your chocolate. But you can eat a little, but do not overdo it.
Ice cream can be a fist?
Half cup?
Okay. Okay, so half cup for the ice cream.
That's
and
right.
and still with those tips that you've shared with us, Dr. Lichan, it should be in our consciousness, no?
Right.
To take care of our family and to
Right.
educate them. The basic unit of society is our family. So in taking care of our family, they share that information with everyone, just as we are doing here on the show, sharing vital information on how to live healthy, eat well, and
That's
savor each and every meal.
That's correct.
Any other last message to our viewers at Christmas?
Enjoy the holiday season. Enjoy your Noche Buena.
Doctor?
Well, an ounce of prevention is better than a pound of cure. Enjoy the holidays, but don't overdo it.
I enjoyed our discussion with you. I'm sure our audience did as well. And everyone here in the studio, Merry Christmas, everyone. Merry Christmas,
Merry
doctors.
Christmas.
Thank you again for
Merry Christmas.
Thank you.
guesting. We hope to have you again soon.
We're looking forward.
Thank you. Again, we'd like to thank our doctors, Anthony Lichon and Miss Maria Badet Platon, for enlightening us about healthy eating during the holidays. See you again next Tuesday, 7 p.m. on our very last episode for 2013. This is MedTalk, your scheduled on-air consultation here on the Solar News Channel. This is Angel Jacob. Happy holidays, everyone.